Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind Podcast, a podcast for estate professionals who earn more, work less, and make a huge difference in their communities. If you get value out of this free content, be sure to check out ProbateMastery.com, where you can get live classes, access to weekly coaching, and valuable courses. To learn more, visit ProbateMastery.com. Now let's jump into this week's content. All right, it is March 11th, 2025. This is the Estate Professionals Mastermind and podcast. We do this every Tuesday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on Tuesdays. It's a free coaching call for the folks that want to come in and discuss building their real estate business in the probate and the estate niche. A lot of times I like to just describe this as the estate and inherited property niche. Why? Our consumers, our audience, which we're going to talk about a little bit today, is not necessarily aware of what the probate niche is, but everybody kind of understands probate. Before, as an agent, before I got into the probate niche, I understood the estate and the inherited property niche. So we are, if you're in Probate Mastery or taken Probate Mastery, you become a certified probate expert, and that's great. I want you guys advertising and promoting that as your space, but we have to be able to put things in layman's terms for our average audience member, our average consumer that we're going to be talking to and marketing to. And talking to them about the probate and the estate niche, both, I find is extremely valuable, even though you are a certified probate expert. And for those that are brand new here, this is our free coaching call that accompanies or oftentimes precedes becoming a certified probate expert through the Probate Mastery course that we offer at ProbateMastery.com. But I want to start today by kind of talking to you guys a little bit about communicating with your audience and the benefit of niching down into the probate and the estate space. Years ago, I was probably 10 or 11 years into the real estate business, and I moved to North Carolina, where I live now. Moved markets, having come from a market where my business partner and I had built a team, and we were doing a lot of business, not probate and estate. We were, for those of you that know Chad Corbett, we were competitors of Chad Corbett's. We used to compete against each other, kind of go head to head for business all the time. And when I moved, I called Chad and I asked where he got his business from, and he mentioned the probate niche, and I began to pursue the probate niche. And as I was getting my business ramped up down here, I knew all these things that we had grown into in the Virginia market that I moved from. Over 10 or 11 years, we'd gradually added things. We'd grown into it. We were running radio ads on 3 different radio stations in the morning. And our thing, for those of you that are in maybe you do this yourself, maybe you're in markets where a competitor does this. Our thing was to always run morning drive time. Always morning drive time from 7 a.m. till 8 a.m., somewhere in that window. And we'd always have a live read from the popular DJ that ran that morning show for 60 seconds coming out of a segment. So first thing that they would hear, the DJ would say, "Hey, we're going to take a little break, but before we do, I want to tell you guys about," and they'd go into a 60-second kind of commercial, and some of them ad-libbed it, some of them would live read. We got a lot of listing business from that. We also had built into doing a lot of short sales. We built into doing a lot of foreclosures. We had tons of buyer leads that were coming in that our buyer agents were working. We were doing farming. We had our sphere of influence business, and all those things were great. We had a property management. We were flipping houses. There was a ton of different things that we were offering out in the market. And what I failed to remember is the build into that type of business, the build up. And I moved into this new market with a load of cash from selling my share of that team that I'd left. And I said, "Hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to do all those things that we used to do back home, back in Virginia." And within a month or so, I was spending money on Zillow leads. I was spending money on Homes.com leads, Realtor.com leads. I was running radio ads on a radio station. I had a billboard. I was blasting out farming to tens of thousands of people. And I was just spending boatloads of money without thinking about the buildup. I'd forgotten the buildup. I knew how to make each one of those things profitable, but I didn't know how to launch them all at the exact same time. And I just didn't have the infrastructure. And because of that, 10 years ago, I found myself burning through boatloads of cash and pretty much on the verge of having to leave the business because I was broke. And that's when I called Chad and I started doing the probate business. So probate paid off really well. It kind of saved my skin because after 6 months I was pretty much broke and I had to get on the phones and start doing the hard work of being an agent that prospects, having to build that business from the ground up. So I'm here to tell you guys, if you want to be really big in your market, make sure that you build appropriately, that you build slowly, that you perfect one thing before you add another. Another thing that I'm going to tell you is as I was moving through this probate process and I was building that, I needed income because I'd gone from a lot of money in the bank to very little money in the bank, and so I was just taking everything. If I ran into someone that said, "Hey, we just moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, we're going to rent for a year and then maybe buy after that," I'd say, "Hey, I can help you with that. Pay me $500. I'll put you in a rental. You'll be my client in a year." If I ran into someone that said, "Hey, I own an investment property," I'd be like, "Hey, I can help you with that. I can manage your property." I got into coaching. If I talked to an agent, I'd say, "Hey, I can help you with coaching. I'll coach you." Um, if I talked to a luxury seller, I'd say, "Hey, I work with luxury clients." If I talk to someone in probate, I work with probate and estate. And legitimately, I could do all those things. But what ended up happening is the people that were around me the most got really, really confused. Really confused. Some of you guys may remember when I had a virtual assistant, like an ISA agency, so appointment setters, cold callers. I had an agency, and of course, now I do probate mastery and coaching and things like that. But what I had to learn is just because I can do something doesn't mean I should, especially if I'm putting that message out to an audience that sees all my messages. People would run into me and say, "Oh, hey, I hear you're not selling real estate anymore. You're just hiring virtual assistants." And I'd go, "No, I am selling real estate." Or they'd say, "Hey, I hear you're not property managing anymore. You're only doing coaching." No, I am still property managing. And people got really, really confused. And I hired a coach, and I was making money again, but I hired a coach who started working through this stuff with me. And my coach was not a real estate person, just a general business coach. And we realized that one of my problems was that I had no clear image that I presented to my audience. No clear image that I presented to my audience. So he got me this little journal, and it was kind of a cool little thing. And on the bottom of the journal, it just says, "Hold your image." And I've used this since. I knew how to do all these things, and I was pretty good at almost everything in the real estate space because I'd done it that I was presenting to my audience. But they didn't know how to interpret me. They didn't recognize the value I could bring to their life because I was always presenting a different image. So that kind of ties in with the probate and the estate niche. And what I want to convey to you guys is that as you move as you move deeper into the probate space, I want you guys to recognize that you need to present an image to your audience. You're going to present an image to your leads. You're going to present an image to your sphere of influence if you're an agent. If you're an investor, you guys have a sphere of influence as well. You probably aren't preached to build up and communicate with your sphere of influence like us agents are. But we need to be able to present a cohesive and unified message and presentation of ourselves to our audience. One of my friends here in the Raleigh, North Carolina market, Amanda, if you ever see this, I use you as an example frequently. One of my friends in the Raleigh market is a girl named Amanda Williams. Okay. And those many people here probably know Amanda. Amanda went out, and I used to say this secretly. Now I don't say it secretly. Amanda went out and she built this image around Amanda Williams, the traveling realtor. And I'm going to be extremely transparent here. I don't know how that works. Okay. You're a realtor, you're trying to get clients. I don't know how clients come to you and say, hey, I want to work with the person that's never local. I want to work with the person that's always traveling, who's never in North Carolina in the market that we're selling and buying houses. But year over year over year over year, Amanda presented the image of being Amanda, the traveling realtor. And little by little by little, her audience of people that trusted her and saw her and recognized her because she kept that image and she kept putting that image out there began to use her. And Amanda and I haven't talked for a while, so I don't know where her business is now, but I talk to a lot of people in this market that I use Amanda for my real estate. And what used to be for me, I used to say, oh, I don't know why you'd ever use Amanda. She's just the traveling realtor. Don't you need a realtor that's local? All those people that, and myself included, that would say that, now all of a sudden they use her because the image is the same time after time after time, touch after touch after touch. So, what we need to do, if you're going to focus on the probate and the estate niche, is present the specialty. You're not going to lose business by presenting a probate and estate specialty. You're not going to lose the first time buyer if you want to work first time buyers. You're not going to lose the foreclosure purchase if you, let's say you're a we buy ugly houses person or you're an investor or you work with luxury or you do those things. You're not going to lose those people. You're going to make your brand and your message more memorable if you present yourself as a probate specialist, a probate and estate specialist. Um, the average consumer out there is just going to be able to recognize it, just like Amanda, the traveling realtor. They recognize that cohesive, unified, consistent message, and now they use her for other pieces of business, but all because they recognize the consistent messaging. And I'm going to encourage you guys to be very consistent in the way that you present and message yourself as an estate and probate specialist. So, estate and probate real estate specialist or a certified probate expert if you're using the Probate Mastery Certification and designation, and present that consistently, even when you're talking to your sphere of influence, even when you're talking to people that might fit a different segment from that. You're not going to say, hey, first time buyer, you want to work with me because I'm a certified probate specialist, but you're going to talk about being a certified probate specialist or an estate and probate specialist. And that's going to really, over time, when you're consistent with it and you don't spread yourself too thin with saying, I manage properties, I clean out estates, I refer attorneys, I work with first time home buyers. Don't spread yourself too thin. When you don't do that and you stick to your script, stick to the message, people will remember it and they'll start to use you even outside of the probate and the estate niche. I think it's critical that we do that. There's this thing out there called sticky marketing. And some of you guys that are in marketing have probably heard this term. And it's the idea that your interaction, your communication, your marketing with people is either slippery or it's sticky. Slippery marketing is essentially when you put a postcard in front of someone or you call someone and you say, oh, by the way, don't forget, I'm never too busy for your referrals. Are they going to remember that? Probably not. Probably not. So your interactions need to be sticky. They need to be memorable. I've gotten to the point when I call my sphere of influence people that are not in probate is about once a year, I will specifically bring up probate and estate and go, hey, I don't know if you knew this. Most of them do know this because I promote it and I market it, but I don't know if you knew this, but I actually specialize in estates and probate. And what that really means is for people that are either going through, they've lost a loved one, they're going through probate, I help with those things, but I can also help you and connect you with the people that help you avoid probate and set up an estate plan. And I'll talk to them about that. And then we get off the phone, and I'm just their friend Bruce from that point forward. But they remember that specific detailed conversation or that specific detailed piece of marketing that helps them in the estate or probate space. Even if they don't need it right now, they remember it. As opposed to, hey, let's grab coffee. Don't forget, send me your referrals. Not memorable. If it is memorable, it's annoying to a lot of people. If all you ever do is say, hey, don't forget, send me your referrals, they might stop taking your call. Okay. So be specific and detailed and talk about the niche that you're in. And of course, we want to work our probate leads. Of course, we want to build the attorney relationships. I'm here to tell you that this specialty and being able to promote your designation or your specialty goes far beyond the probate lead that you're calling. It goes far beyond the attorney or the estate sale company you're trying to establish a relationship with. It goes into your day-to-day life. And if you can effectively communicate that, it's going to advance your business, especially if you're consistent with it. Now, I had no intention of sitting here and rambling for 15 minutes. You guys forgive me. Um, as most of you know, this is an open call. I like to field your questions, stories that you have. If you have experiences, I'd like to hear about those. Do I have anyone that has been using the probate and the estate niche to communicate outside of your probate leads? Anyone feel like you're doing a good job of promoting yourself as a certified probate expert or a probate and estate specialist to people that aren't just a probate lead? Who's doing that? Anybody? Thank you, Sarah, for saying I am not. I appreciate the honesty. I encourage you to do that. But is anyone doing a good job of kind of promoting that image to your current audience? I'd like to hear from you guys. That's the problem when I start with 17 minutes of ranting is it squashes some of the questions, but that's what I'm here for. Anybody new that is just kind of thinking about getting into the estate and probate niche? Any question is open to you guys. I haven't had a short call in a long time.
I can
All
ask
right,
a question if it's okay.
please, yes.
This is my first call. How do you get started in that, like this, the course or certification that you're talking about? Is that like a class that you take?
Yep. So we've got in probatemastery.com, we have a number of different classes. It all kind of, I don't want to say culminates. The flagship is Probate Mastery. It is the Probate Mastery course. Anybody that's listening to this on podcast won't be able to see this, but since you asked the question, and I have a lot of people here on Zoom, I'm going to share my screen and show you what it looks like. So when when you want to specialize in the probate space, you would just go to probatemastery.com. There's a couple of different places that people start. So number one, for those that are just wanting to absorb as much content and material as possible, our YouTube channel has a boatload of coaching. It's just go to Google YouTube Probate Mastery. We've got a lot of training and education up there. We publish these calls every week on that. We also have a bi-weekly class called Probate Foundations. This is kind of a freebie. For those of you that are already certified probate experts, this is pretty basic. So I definitely want, I always get a bunch of certified probate experts that join my probate foundations class, and then they're like, hey, it was good, but I already learned that in probate mastery. So if you've taken probate mastery, you don't need this, but this is a nice little dip your toe in the water and see class that we run every other Wednesday. I've got this little video that pops up down here that tells you how I close at least 2 deals every month with a minimum of 100 leads each month. Okay. If you buy Probate Mastery, you've got, and for some reason my headers are doubled. I got to fix my website. You've got a couple of different ways to do that. We've got a $500 course. If you want to break it into three payments, it's $200 a month for 3 months. And essentially, what happens when you go into that is you're going to get portal access or course access behind a login. This is Chad. Chad built Probate Mastery originally. I acquired the business for him as one of his students. He's my good friend. He was my competitor in that market in Virginia, where when I moved, I called and said, "Hey, how are you getting all this business?" And he told me probate. So Chad built it. Anybody that takes Probate Mastery gets this course. All right, this is a course they get. We are in the middle of launching Probate Mastery 2.0, which you guys see if you're here live. You see this on the bottom right of my screen. And Probate Mastery 2.0 is going to be in a good way, a bear of a course, in a good way. Okay. Chad's version is about 15 hours long. It's exceptional. He redid it last in about 2020. Um, I've taken all the things that we've coached on over the last several years and that I've implemented in my probate business, and students have implemented and had success in their probate business, and we're doing it all live. So, Probate Mastery 2.0 is going to end up over the next couple of months being 30 to 40 hours of high quality training. These are just modules. So we had a module on direct mail marketing. Inside of that, we've got a lesson and sample letters, another lesson and sample letters. We're going to be adding a third lesson to direct mail marketing for warm mail. We've got a class that David Pinnell taught on his mail strategies. Got a couple of classes on building your probate team, three classes on creating a business plan. Gonna be one class on unique selling propositions, and then we're in the middle of five classes on phone prospecting, what to say and how to say it, how to influence people on the phone. Gonna have appointment. Um, we are adding these weekly. So anybody that gets mastery gets Chad's version that I showed you guys, but you also get invited into all the weekly classes that we're doing over the next couple of months. We started in January. Over the next couple of months, as we finish Probate Mastery 2.0, and we're doing that with generally one or two weekly classes. Um, at the end of either Chad's or this 2.0, you get certified. You are effectively an expert at that point. Obviously, expertise comes with practice, but you have all the tools that you need to be able to promote yourself as a certified probate expert. So what I'm normally telling people to do right now, since 2.0 is in process, is take Chad's class. Take Chad's that I showed you guys at the top of the page. Get your certification, and then plug in to all the live classes that I'll be doing over the next couple of months. And when that's done, we're basically going to take all other versions of Probate Mastery down because it's going to be extremely comprehensive. Mastery is very much geared toward you offering a service, a high value service, not just, "Hey, your mom died. Can I put a sign in the yard and make a commission?" Okay, don't get me wrong. None of us are saying that. I, Therese, I know you would never say, "Hey, your mom died. Let me put a sign in the yard and make a commission." But sometimes your competition is out there presenting themselves that way. So we want to present ourselves in a way that we are offering more services than that. We're offering to guide them through probate. We're offering if they need help understanding an application or the court system, we help them understand it. If they need an estate sale, we can connect them with our estate sale partners. If they need an attorney, we can refer them to an attorney. If they need someone to cut the grass, do I go cut the grass? No. Do I have landscapers that I can coordinate that? Yeah, absolutely. Some people have actually monetized that business. We teach you how to do that in Probate Mastery. I don't monetize all the extra services. I use those to build an incredibly high level of rapport so that when they sell the house, I have kind of first shot to at least interview or first shot to make an offer if I'm an investor. So we offer a lot of that's what we teach is offer a lot of services and a lot of support in the beginning so that when they get to the house, which could be 2 months, could be 6 months, could be 8 months, when they get to the house, you're the person that's just at the top of the list. And that's exactly kind of what we teach. I feel very long-winded today. Therese, I hope that I hope that was a good answer for you.
Quick question. First time I've ever spoken up in this webinar, but I wanted to know, one, is there any test? Two, I'm starting to market with some hospices
Hmm.
and just wondering how you think I can kind of work all that into the probate.
Your first question was, what is there any what?
Is there any test at the end
Oh,
for,
test. Yeah, in Chad's version, there it's broken into 3 sessions with long sessions with a bunch of different lessons underneath of each session. So just like mine have modules with different lessons underneath, his are the same way, and he's got 3 quizzes, relatively simple. The idea isn't to force you to demonstrate that you know everything about probate, but make sure that you were listening and that you were actually creating a plan. So there's 3 quizzes at the end of those. So when you go through and you finish the lessons and you show that you've passed the quizzes, you just email in and say, "Hey, check my progress." We'll go check and make sure that you've finished the lessons and passed the quizzes, and then you get your certification. Um, the Probate Mastery 2.0 will be the same way, just with probably a few extra quizzes in there because I'm going a little bit deeper into the process. So I'm hitting warm mail and follow up. He doesn't really hit a whole lot of that in his version. We're doing 5 sessions, 5 lessons on prospecting. We're doing an appointment strategies, so for listings and investors, and both. So we're going a little bit deeper in this. We'll tie quizzes into ours in the future. For right now, those of you that want to get certified fast, get certified on his and then take mine. I'm not going to make you take any quizzes on the 2.0 classes. Okay. So yes, some quizzes. I wouldn't call them full-blown tests. Now, to your second question, hospice. Hospice is kind of its own separate niche. So, probate mastery, we focus very heavily on what's your offer and your message, and how do you communicate and present your value to the families that are going through probate. There are a few different sides of the probate space. So, if you want to be a real specialist in probate, you probably also want to build a separate campaign for attorneys and another campaign, and what you're referring to would be almost connected to the SNF world, which is the specialized nursing world. So that's going to be hospice, social workers, short-term care, catching families in the transition when their loved one is still alive.
because
And that is its own thing. I'm
because
a
I was thinking like these people will be passing away.
Mhm.
Eventually, their assets might be going into probate.
Yep. Build a
Start
relationship with the people
build
that
a
have a
relationship
relationship.
early.
Yeah. Yeah, I interrupted. Sorry, go
No,
for it.
no, no. That was it. Like I was just trying to think about how I can tie all that in. I mean, for long-term pipeline,
Hmm.
you know, as things. I know probate takes time, so but just to be the first in the door, so they think of me when they're
Yeah.
ready for that.
All the services that you offer to someone in probate apply to someone before they're in probate, apply to someone at the end of their life, especially if they are dissolving an estate ahead of time, which definitely happens. If somebody needs Medicaid or Medicare to get the care that they need, many times they take care of the things that we offer before there's a death. So you build a business plan that offers a certain level of service for an estate or kind of a transition phase. And some people are going to need that level of service before the loss of life, before they transition. Some people are going to need that level of service as the heirs after. So you build the service, and it's easiest to offer it to people in probate. Why? Because they're public record. They're already dealing with the process. They have a house that no one is living in many times. But once you have the service, then you just start expanding your relationships. You expand it into the hospice people. You expand it into the assisted living. You expand it into the nursing facilities and the short-term and long-term nursing facilities. You expand it to funeral homes. You go to attorneys, estate planning attorneys who help people avoid probate. You take it to them because they have clients that need this as well. The idea behind all of this is that a consumer is very rarely, if they're setting up an estate plan or they're administering an estate plan, i.e., somebody's died and they're dissolving the estate, they very rarely come to the realtor or the investor first. They don't lose mom and go to Google and go, who's the best probate realtor in my market? They don't do that. They typically say, how do I get specialized nursing if they're still living? What funeral home should I go to? How to set up hospice care? If somebody's passed away, who's the best probate attorney? How do I do an estate sale? They look for those services. So what you want to do after you set your services up is go build relationships with the people that get the relationship first.
So, in your experience, out of those professionals, who do you think the individuals would ask their opinion most of? Like, would it be the attorney most likely?
Yep, definitely. Before the loss, social workers. After the loss, it's going to be the attorney normally. Um, Sheila, I'm not sure if you had a question or not. If not, I just muted you. If so, unmute yourself again. So before the loss, it's going to be a lot of times social workers because there's social workers, placement advisors that are helping people find their care, hospice care, nursing care. And they are leaned on heavily. They're also so that they're like an in between, a go between that connect all the dots. Um, Once somebody's passed away, it's very frequently the attorney that gets the connection. And if there is no attorney, like is the case on a lot of probate files, then people are hodgepodging it and trying to put all the pieces together themselves. And Google becomes their best friend. So if they don't have an attorney, they're Googling. If they don't have a social worker to help with the end of life side of things, they're Googling. So you want a good relationship with social workers that handle end of life. You want a good relationship with attorneys, plural, that handle after probate started. And you want a great relationship with Google. Google is probably the relationship that you want the most because people go to Google all the time, even if they're Googling attorneys and social workers. If they go to Google and they say, who's the best probate attorney in Raleigh, North Carolina? How powerful would it be if 5 of the top 10 things that show up on Google are mine, even if I'm not offering legal advice and legal services? I could be interviewing my attorneys. I could be interviewing estate sale companies. I could be putting blogs and websites and videos out. So I want to have a great relationship with Google in addition to those professionals that we're talking about.
So, social workers. So, how do you are you how do the social workers start getting involved with people? Like, is it like in they're in the hospital and somehow they get contacted?
Hmm. Yep. Most of the time, the families don't know that there's going to be social workers involved. They don't know. It's not a known thing. They don't go, oh, I need a social worker. What they do is they go look for short-term housing, and so they'll look up assisted living. They'll look up a lot of times it's assisted living or skilled nursing, and they'll go to that place. And in many, many, many cases, that place only takes long-term residents. And they'll say, "Hey, do you have $14,000 to pay for this care every month?" And the family says, "No, I don't have that." And they say, "Okay, you're going to need to go through Medicaid and Medicare. In a lot of cases, you got to sell a house or give the house to Medicare, Medicaid, one of the two." Okay. Um, or sell. And so they'll go to the long-term facility, and you say, I'm not ready for this. We need care now, but I can't afford that. And so they'll refer you to a social worker that helps you find short-term care and work through the paperwork and go through the process of getting this set up because you don't have a clue. And the only place that you've gone to says, "Hey, there's a mountain of paperwork that you have to fill out, and it's going to be really expensive. Here's some solutions." And they'll refer you most of the time to the social worker or placement advisor, one of the two. And then that placement advisor, who's just networked with the nursing facility, will then take over and handle your case and help you access the money that you need. And they're the people that a lot of times are leaned on when someone's kind of aged and the family's involved, and they help them decide, okay, are we going to sell the house or are we going to turn it over to Medicaid, that kind of thing. So they're heavily involved with the people that sell before there's a loss, the families that sell before there are loss.
And
Um,
and our I'm sorry, like I don't know much about social work. So it's like social workers, like are they typically hired by like the state or county, or are they like independent? And any tips on how do you get to know them?
um, Network. I would start by networking with, you could Google, by the way, you could Google, I don't know if this is the exact name. I would start by saying end of life social workers. That's not the name. If somebody on here does this, please chime in. End of life social worker in your county. Death doula. Hmm. Yeah. So death doula, Robin just said. Um, and skilled nursing social worker. You could Google that. That would be another one. And I would start looking to see who advertises themselves that way. Most of the time, they're getting their business not necessarily from advertising that way. They're kind of like us. Their audience doesn't know that they exist. Our audience, as realtors that specialize in probate, our audience doesn't necessarily know that we exist. So it's rarely what they don't come looking for us. They don't say realtor that specializes in probate, investor that specializes in estates. Um, but we can still put that content out, and so that when somebody does look for that, we're found. Our business comes from our relationships a lot of times or direct prospecting. Same thing with the social worker. So if you go to Google and you look up death doula or skilled nursing placement advisor or skilled nursing or nursing home social worker, you'll find them, but if you want to find even more of them, go to the facilities that people are looking for. Talk with and these aren't social workers, but talk with the sales reps, the facilitators, the administrators, the people that are responsible for filling the beds, and ask them what social workers they refer to. So you'll find some just by doing some digging for the people that have advertised, but the ones that really get a lot of business, they have a lot of relationships with their nursing homes and their assisted living facilities and their hospitals. Um, you could also go look up hospice. Okay. Hospice, they're not normally social workers, but a lot of times they have a relationship with a social worker. So it's kind of a web, and anywhere in that you'll find people that are involved in that web, and they should always have a relationship with a social worker or two or three that they can introduce you to.
Okay,
And I think
great.
it's the placement advisor and the social worker pre-death that have the most influence and rapport and credibility with the client.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yep.
I want to try and get business on both sides,
Mhm.
before and after. So,
To start, not before you go out and start getting the relationships. You don't have to build an entire business plan and business model before you make your first call, but make sure that you can clearly articulate everything that you do for an estate. Uh,
gotcha. Yeah, I want to get deeper into the class. I did pay for the whole course,
mhm.
but I need to
Yep.
start doing it. But
Once you can articulate that, take it to as many people that serve in this arena as possible, and they'll bring you the business. And make sure you're offering value to them. Interview them. That's one way. We were talking earlier today. I don't know if Tana's on here. I don't see her. We were on a coaching call earlier today, and she said, it's kind of weird for me to stop into the office, the attorney's office, because I don't have a referral to bring them. I feel like for me to do a stop in every month or two, I should be walking in with a referral. Well, we're all building our business. So they recognize that they're building their business. Just because you don't have a client for them right now doesn't mean that you can't go in. And we said, hey, put a little note on something and say, hey, in lieu of bringing you a client, because I'm still building my business, here's some coffee. Okay. In lieu of bringing you a referral that you can call, here's a box of donuts, that kind of thing. And use it as an opportunity to talk. And so we should always be looking for ways to provide value, even if we don't have referrals. Always be looking for ways to provide value to our high level networking relationships, the social workers, the placement advisors, the attorneys, the estate sale companies. The list goes on and on. Provide them value. And that can be a monthly drop off with some edibles. I'm not talking about cannabis edibles. I'm saying like, well, if you want to do cannabis edibles, that's fine too. But something that they'll come to the office for. Sarah, you're right. In Oregon, it might be just fine. I live in the Bible Belt, though. I'm not sure, right? Um, the other thing is interview them, talk to them, promote their business in your marketing. So maybe. This is a company I've been looking at. It's called Discover Pubs. There's probably some people here that use them. They put out a monthly newspaper publication. It's 12 pages long, and you put articles in it, and they can do it, or you can write your own, and then you can run ads. And so maybe I've got this big audience that I send this to, and every month I go to my senior placement facility, or I go to my attorney and I say, hey, I want to promote your business. I want to interview you and promote you to my audience. Or maybe you don't have the money to send out house to house paper like that. So you go, hey, I get 200 probate leads every month. I'd like to add an insert brochure into my letter that I'm sending out. Maybe it's I'd like to interview you so that when people look for a probate attorney, they find our YouTube video and they can get to know you because I'm interviewing you. There's a lot of ways to provide value to your network. And that way you're not having to call them every time and go, hey, do you have any business for me? Any business for me? Any business for me? And after the third time, you're like, why are they not taking my call anymore? It's because you're constantly asking. So give, but also make sure that you know how to articulate the ask, the request. You need to be able to articulate the request. Otherwise, you get stuck in the friend zone and you never get referrals from people because you've never asked, or you've asked in an annoying way and they quit taking the call. Okay. So you got to be able to ask. Great questions, guys. Anda, you had your hand up. Go for it. What do you have?
Hey Bruce, I have a question. I am a solo realtor, and as I'm focusing more on probate real estate, and I have just created my website specific for this. Should I, do you consider, should I consider forming an LLC? This is to be like uh, to help with credibility and business growth, maybe,
Hmm.
and branding.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, it depends on you as an individual and a personality with your defects. I don't know. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. I will tell you that a strength of mine is being able to create ideas. A weakness of mine is going out and trying to take on and implement all those ideas at the same time. And so in my business, I went and formed an LLC for every idea that I had. And then every year, it would come time to file my annual report and I'd lose it. I'd be like, I didn't make any money. Okay. So I'm having to file these annual reports on 7 different businesses, and it just wasn't worth it to me to have a bunch of LLCs floating out there when really all I was monetizing was my real estate business. And the reality is that's in probate, outside of probate mastery and training and coaching, outside of that, to consumers, I'm only monetizing through the real estate deal. That's the only way I monetize. So if you want to be legit, you probably ought to create an LLC under your service name. And by that, what I mean is maybe you advertise California Estate Solutions. Maybe you create an LLC under that, but recognize that you're probably not monetizing the LLC, and it's just one more thing that you have to go file a report on every year. So if you're willing to go do that report, get the LLC and use it to offer. So I don't like to call someone or mail someone and go, "Hey, I'm Bruce Hill with LPT Realty. I want to sell your house." I like to lead with a service, with an estate solution. For me, I don't want the hassle of creating and chasing paperwork every year to file my reports. Um, so slightly incorrectly, I kind of advertise a name that's not officially a trade name. That's 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 the incorrect way to do it. But I just don't keep up with my annual reports the way that some people do.
I got it. And
Yeah.
and I think I hear you. And I was kind of thinking about the same way of actually using a slogan kind of then which is fine. It's a general slogan like you mentioned, I think, although it's not a corporation.
Hmm.
And but just defines maybe what I'm doing. But thank you so much for the insight.
Yep. I'm going to add to that. I do think it's important that we all present ourselves as coming from a company or organization. One of the problems that I have when I role play with people is they present themselves very unprofessionally. They call and they go, "Hey, can I speak with Matthew Price?" So there's Matthew in my market, or yeah, in my market. A mile apart, or we're feel like miles apart on the opposite side of the triangle from each other. But Matthew, hey, my name's Bruce. I help with probate. Rings a lot different than Matthew. I'm not sure we know each other. My name's Bruce Hill. I run a company called Triangle Estate Solutions here in Raleigh and provide services to families going through the probate process. There's a big difference in how you perceive me from that point forward in the conversation versus, "Hey, I'm just Bruce." So you got to make that decision for yourself. Are you just Anda, or are you Anda that's running a company, managing a business? My business is Triangle Estate Solutions. Um, I believe that you have more credibility when you present a business And you'll get further in your conversations if the first business you present is not only a real estate business. So I manage XYZ real estate company. Well, I don't need to sell the house. We're not ready to talk about the house yet. And you immediately kind of pigeonhole yourself potentially into them thinking that all you're doing is offering a real estate service when you're offering so much more. So I like to have some kind of an estate solutions business that I can lead with. And underneath of that estate solutions business are resources and connections to attorneys and connections to people to cut the grass. Maybe there's real estate services. Maybe there's title agencies. So underneath of that are all the different resources that are available. But I want some kind of an estate solution or a probate solution that I can present up front. So I do think that's important. And if you're doing it properly, you probably have an LLC for that.
Got it. And I agree that it has to be an estate solution. It doesn't have to be focused only on real estate because it's so much more than that. Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks, Sonda. Appreciate it. All right. Anybody else?
Just to follow on with you, Bruce, commonly I'll get phone calls from robocallers saying, "Hi, this is uh, Fred from Keller Williams. Are you interested in selling your house at 5917 Waterworn Court?" The answer to that is always no, because first I don't have any kind of connection with you. Now,
Mhm.
if they would call and say something to the effect of like what Bruce was saying, "Hi, my name is Matthew Price. I'm a state solutions provider, and I handle a variety of services that may be able to help you. Um, is there anything that you are currently, you might have a current issue with that I might be able to help you with?" That's actually reaching out and saying that you have a solution that you could probably present versus, "Hey, let me just sell all your stuff."
Yeah.
And
Let
with
me make
that
some
cold
money on your
open,
loss.
yeah, with the cold open, you're going to just get hung up on 100% of the time.
Hmm. Yep. Um, in our market, 100%. I'm surprised when I run into markets that the cold opening, I'm with this real estate company. Do you want to sell 123 Main Street? I'm really surprised with some markets where people say, yeah, I'm gonna sell. Let me tell you, some of you guys can use that and you will get, yes, I'm gonna sell. And you might get an appointment. How many other people are you competing with for that business, though? If they told you, yes, I'm gonna sell to that crappy opening, how many other people called with that same, hey, I see you have 123 Main Street. Do you want to sell? And they said yes to. And all of a sudden you're showing up and you're interviewing and pitching your offer or listing against 10 other people that used the same lousy, I'm a real estate investor, I'm a real estate agent, I want to sell the house that you just inherited. Um, so even if you're successful using what Matthew just presented as a don't do this, even if you're successful that way, you're going to be successful at getting the appointment, but then you've got to compete because everyone else presented themselves the exact same way. If you want to be different, offer solutions.
Right. And to piggyback on that, because we're just piggybacking today.
Yeah,
If,
exactly.
if you offer a solution, you open yourself up to a wide variety of incomes that can come in, not just, "Hey, I'm a real estate broker," because you just chopped yourself off from any potential uh, other services that you can provide and charge for.
Yeah.
So it's important to make sure that you're making that understood that you're an estate solutions provider versus just a real estate broker.
Hmm.
I've got one down and done right now where I've completely cleaned out the house for the guy, and I'm getting ready to sell the house, only because I had that talk with him going, "Well, I'm not just a real estate broker. I actually provide these services." And he was open to that. And what happened when we were standing there in the kitchen? "Hi, my name is Cheryl, and I'm a real estate broker. Are you interested in selling this? I noticed that and she just went on about all the flaws in the house, and basically he just kicked her out."
Hmm.
So it's important to understand that you can be a project manager for those services and charge for them accordingly. And then you can be a real estate broker at the same time. It's not just one clear cut, that's it.
How do
That's
you,
go for it. Whoever was that, Therese, was that you?
yeah, it was. I was just asking, how do you transition from what Matthew was just saying? How do you transition that intro into being a real estate professional somewhere in the, because you don't want to pigeonhole yourself. So how do you say,
Yeah.
I'm a realtor at some point?
Matthew, when and where? I'm going to give my answer, but since Matthew is kind of sharing, and that's what that question came from, how would you, when and how would you make that transition?
Well, usually because I'm an auctioneer and a real estate broker, I actually will sit down with them and say, I provide these hosts of services. And they'll say, well, I don't know what I need to do in order to get the house sold. And then that leads me into, well, that's great. I'm also a real estate broker as well. How can I help you with that?
Mm-hmm.
So usually it's very organic with me. I mean, severely organic. It's like, when I knock on the door and say, hey, I see that the yard has not been kept. Is there anything I can do? And they're saying, well, my sister passed away, 3 months ago. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm actually an estate specialist. Is there anything I can do to help you? So it's severely organic with me, and it's been really, really successful. So if you're pushing the real estate side of it, then you're shutting yourself out because, like Bruce will tell you, for every house in our area, there is 14 real estate brokers who are dying for that commission check. And
Mm-hmm.
they're willing to say and do anything that they can. But if you provide the solution first versus being the real estate broker only, then 9 times out of 10, that gets me a deal.
Yep. Now, I'm personally very accustomed to people wanting to resist and hold off the first thing I've offered, even if it's something that's needed. Stranger on the phone. So for me, I offer the estate solutions, and I keep it really short. So I say, I could go on and on and on, but I don't want to bore you with a bunch of details you didn't ask for. Do you have everything handled, or is there anything I can take off your plate? And they go, I have everything handled. Okay, which is the answer that I honestly like it a lot. I have it handled because that lets me say, hey, totally understand. I'm glad I caught you when you have things handled. What I'd like to do is send you some resources and you can call me if anything ever comes up. Now, we're not talking about real estate at this point. I've made it extremely easy for them to say, yeah, send me resources. Extremely easy. I didn't say, I want to send you resources and then call you back next week. No, don't do that. I didn't say, can I follow up with you? Some of you could do that. I don't ask to follow up. So all this is around, let me send you resources. I accept whatever answer you gave me. And then I go, hey, before I jump off, do you mind if I ask one more question? Or hey, before I jump off the phone, can I tell you why I would offer something like this? Okay, so I'm asking for permission to take one more step. And then I go, one of the things that I provide, let's pretend that the conversation really is kind of short at this point. One of the things I provide is a kind of real estate services as well for real estate needs where title needs to be transferred. Some people need a new mortgage. Some people have to sell. Can I ask you, has the family decided to sell the house or is it too early to tell? And Therese most people here are going to be very used to this being my approach. I almost never ask a question where I say, are you doing X? I almost always say, are you doing X or Y? Almost every question I ever ask, are you doing X or Y? Because I want when they give me the resistance, when they give me the answer that maybe I didn't want, I want it to be a yes answer. And this is part of probate mastery and one of the lessons we just did last week. I want that that answer that might not be the best for me to be a yes answer. So I want to say, is selling the house something that you guys are going to do, or selling any real estate involved something you guys are going to do, or is it too early to tell? And they go, yes, it's too early to tell. So on my conversation, I got permission to send resources. I presented myself with high value. I'm not just chasing a sale, not chasing a commission. I was able to shift into real estate, and I was able to allow them to hold me off. And when they say it's too early to tell, what do I know? I've got a house. It's probably going to sell. They don't necessarily. So I'm always, with my approach, I'm always looking for the answer that they don't know that they're giving me. It's too early to tell is the answer they don't know they're giving me. When I used to do open houses, I'd say, how does this house compare to the others you've been looking at? And they'd say, hey, we haven't been out looking at houses. Well, what do I now know? Probably don't have a realtor that they're working with. I didn't even have to ask. Okay. Because I'm kind of trying to phrase my questions in a way where they give me answers that they don't know that they're giving me. So it's too early to tell tells me that there's a property. And some people say, yeah, you know what? We're probably going to sell, but it's just going to be down the road. I love, love, love that answer. I love that answer more than, hey, we're going to sell. We're selling in a month. We've got a mortgage. We need to get this gone. I prefer the people that say it's going to be a little while or we haven't decided yet. That's my preference when I do get to the real estate. So I make those answers extremely easy for them when I'm prospecting. I like those because I can separate myself from the marketing pack over the next 5 or 6 months. It's hard for me to separate myself in the very beginning when you say, hey, I'm going to sell next week. I'm interviewing 5 agents. I'm taking offers from investors all week. It's just difficult to separate myself. Not impossible, but we're kind of on the same footing if you're moving fast. So I want the people that haven't decided yet. They need to sell, but they're not ready to deal with it at the moment. So that would be my transition. So find a good transition phrase if you're on the phone, or if
Thank
you're
you.
face to face. Do what Matthew's doing. Get face to face, offering something else, and then let them make it easy for them to bring real estate up. If you're on the phone, go, hey, before I jump off the phone, can I ask one more question? And then shift. Don't do this. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot. That's a bold-faced lie and they know it. Okay. If what comes out of your mouth next is a question that's the only thing that you really monetize, they know that everything that you said before that was just setting them up. So for me, I say, before I let you go, can I ask one more question? And I want them to know that this is an important question, and then give them the ability to kind of hold me back a little bit. And that hold back, as long as it's we don't know, we haven't decided yet, that's a seller all day, every day. They're just not ready to tell me yet. And now I know what to do. I know to market to them. I know to follow up. I'm going to put them into a plan.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Therese. Sandra,
Well,
So I just wanted to ask, going
with
back
the
to,
face-to-face,
one
hello?
second. Matt, you were frozen, but you're frozen, but also unmuted. So I'm going to mute you for just a
go
second. Go
ahead.
to Sandra, and then go ahead, Sandra.
So when Matthew was talking about him going to the house and doing the clean out, do you charge a separate amount or do you just do it for free and assume that you're going to get the listing? How does that work? Or what are you charging extra for when you're presenting yourself not as a realtor, but as an estate person?
It's a question for Matthew.
Well, there's two separate there's two separate structures. One is the real estate piece of it, and then the other one is either the auction piece or the estate tag sale piece, or it is we can get somebody to come in and buy everything, including the trash bags. So there's three different methods of charging, and there's also four or five different other ways of charging for the real estate as well, including any kind of services that are needed, such as fixing drywall, etc. So it's really staggered. But if they just call me in and want me to sell the personal property inside, I'll be happy to do that. And the commission is accordingly. But if they want me to sell the personal property and the real estate, then I give them a discount across the board. And sometimes I won't even charge them for the personal property.
And a lot of that, Matthew, a lot of that you monetize because it fits really well with your auctioneer business, correct? Or incorrect?
Yeah, and it's plus not only not only that, my computer's getting ready to have a heart attack. That's why I'm jumpy a little. Um, but not only that, but with the auction and estate tag sale stuff, it allows me to offer them, if they want to get out of a house in less than 15 days, that I can put it up for auction, or I can put it up for traditional real estate, or I can put it up for an investor. So I give another arrow in my quiver to them as to a possible solution to what they need. If they have a house that needs $100,000 worth of repairs, I will tell them that chances are an investor or an auction is probably the best two to go, because in traditional real estate, it's going to be sitting there for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Does that help, Sandra? Yep. What we do, and this is my wife actually does this. So what I do when I'm at the property, we're face to face, I'm touring. I'm generally presenting as though I help connect with all these different services. So anything that you need, I'll connect you. I don't charge for that. The only thing I'm gonna ask is that if you sell the house, you let me bring you an offer. And I use the word bring you an offer. I might make you an offer. I might bring you an offer through a listing. I might just bring a represented buyer to make an offer on your house. But I usually, and I don't say that. I just say, the only thing I'm going to ask is if you do decide to sell, that you let me bring you an offer. Would that be okay? Um, I don't frequently monetize the other things. Now, when I get to the appointment and we're talking about a listing plan, so let's pretend it's not going to be one that they want to let go for low, that they're looking for market value. We pick a general price idea before I go over commissions. Once we get the price selected, I'll flip my presentation over and we'll go over three different listing options. One of those listing options for me is high end. I pay for a home inspection. I pay for a home warranty. I pay for a stager. I pay for a cleaner. I pay for repairs up to a certain amount. Okay, and all the up to a certain amount. Keep that in mind. It's not a blank check. And all if you want all these things, it's going to be 10%. And that's not my number. I just threw that out as an example. Most people don't go for that. I might even guarantee a sale. Okay. Middle is what I'm shooting for. Middle is going to be a little bit more traditional for me, a little bit more. I'm not going to spend all the extra money on extra services. What I'm hoping to do with my three plans is funnel everyone or as many people into the middle as possible. And then my lower plan is something that is low service, low marketing. And if they take it, it's usually because they want low commission. And then I'll say, can you see how the middle plan might net you more money though? If they say yes, I go, what if I could give you the middle plan and I just come off of the commission a little bit? That's how I do it. Now on the flip side, all the way flip side, my wife doesn't like presenting three options. So she presents one option. She says, here's how I list the property. If you want me to be your concierge to do everything else for you, it's a 1% upcharge. So that's how she does it. There's a lot of different ways to do this. as I told you guys, I love presenting ideas. For some people, your brains are exploding like too many ideas. Okay. All right. If that's you, just pick one. It doesn't matter what you pick, just run with it. If you make a mistake, you can go change it later. Um, I like presenting three options. Then you've got Matthew, who I think just dropped off. I know a few people like Matthew that monetize the extra services. So I will manage your estate for you for $1,000, for 2,000, for 5,000. I'll manage all these extra things for you. So what I want you guys to know is that you're not limited to how you run the business. What you do have to do is pick a direction, wrong or right, and run with it. And if you make a mistake, adjust. Making a mistake on how you present is not a problem. It's only a problem if you're afraid to present because you're afraid that maybe it's the wrong way. Maybe they're not going to perceive it well. I tried a listing platform early, actually last year. It's been almost a year. I tried a listing platform. For me, the way that I was presenting it fell on its face, and I didn't go, "Oh, can't do that." Fell on its face. That's not going to work. I looked and I went, okay, it's time to make some adjustments. Did I give up? No. Did I freeze the next time I had to try something like that again? No. Um, don't be afraid to make a mistake. If you go on an appointment, you make a call, you try something new, it fails, and somebody yells at you. uh, I won't do that again. Let me make an adjustment. You go on an appointment, it doesn't work, and it fails. I won't do that again. I make an adjustment. I try a new listing strategy. I'm going to try to charge for estate services. Doesn't work for you. Make an adjustment. I'm going to do it for free. Oh my gosh, this is what's happened to me before. I took on a lot of work that I wasn't planning on doing for free and not charging for. This isn't worth it. Make an adjustment. Maybe charge next time. So pick a strategy, and if it doesn't work, just tweak, just change. But never freeze going, I have these five options. I don't know which one of them is going to be best for me, so I'm not going to do them. Pick a direction, right or wrong, change if it's wrong. Ron, and then we'll wrap up for the day.
Appreciate that, Bruce. How you doing?
Yeah, really good.
Did you see my chat? I'll just go ahead and tell you out loud. So you had in one of the trainings, and for the life of me, I couldn't find it, talked about the raising the question for the purpose of them of a prospect not understanding totally what they're involved in when it came to insurance on the vacant home and providing a sign. Will you talk about that for a second? I'm thinking about using kind of a Gary Hallberg's lumpy mail
Mhm.
option of sending something like that to real high value prospects
Mm.
as a kind of reciprocity. Maybe it'll open the door for additional conversation. Will you talk about that again for a second?
Sure. So that would have been where you saw that would have probably been in Chad's probate mastery, Chad's version of probate mastery.
Gotcha.
It's very hard bringing up vacant property. If it's vacant, you should let them know that they probably need a no trespassing sign and notice in the window that allows if you're in a squatter area, and some people aren't, but if
Mhm.
if a squatter moves in, it gives you the ability to kick them out as squatters, as trespassers, not necessarily go through the eviction process. So that's one thing that you can do.
Okay.
Another thing that he presented at the same time in his version is it's a vacant property, and I agree with this. You absolutely um, you own a vacant property, you need to make sure your insurance covers you. A lot of
Mhm.
insurance policies have a provision that says if the house is vacant, we're not going to cover catastrophic loss,
Mhm.
fire, water damage. Why? You weren't there to catch it. If you were there, you could have caught it.
Right.
Um, so your insurance company needs to put a rider on the property, and in some cases, your insurance company has no ability or willingness to cover a vacant property. So the family that you're talking to, they need to check their insurance.
Right.
So what I would do is say, hey, if the property is vacant, I just want to make sure that you've gotten your insurance covered. I'm assuming you have insurance on the property, right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Check with them and make sure that they cover vacant properties. If not, you need to add a policy. And if they don't, I have an insurance agent for you. Would you like me to share his name with you? Okay.
Sure.
Gives me a good referral opportunity. Um,
Okay.
I did this with someone one time, and they called their insurance company and they called me mad. And they said, my insurance company dropped me. I told them that the property was vacant and and asked if they'd give me a rider, and they dropped me. And they were mad. And they were like, you caused me to get dropped. And I said, would you rather get dropped now and get new insurance or have a fire and realize after the fire that they weren't going to cover you because it was vacant? So let me get this solved for you. Let's talk to my insurance agent. They ended up getting a better deal, but they were mad when they called me back after getting dropped. So
Look
that's
what you
something to
did.
talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. That helped. Thank you.
definitely. Anda. And then
Yes.
we got to wrap up. We're over time by 15 minutes.
Actually, I was thinking about the same thing. I reached out to an insurance agent last week. Just wanted to learn how to present this to potential seller leads, and I kind of was afraid of bringing this up again. Exactly for what the reason you said. What if they call, ask about it, and they get dropped, and then they get back to me and say, it's because of you. I brought this up and I was dropped, and now. So I'm kind of afraid of bringing this up now.
I tell them in my story, I tell them the story I just told you. I said, hey, you need to call your insurance company and make sure that you're covered with a vacant property. And if not, get a rider. And then I say, let me tell you what the potential negative is. If they don't cover vacant properties, they might drop you, in which case this happened. And I tell them the story and I say, this client was mad at me, but they didn't realize that if they'd had a fire or damage, that they wouldn't have been covered. So they might have gotten mad, but what ended up happening is we got them a new insurance policy with a new company, and they actually paid less. And then that way you're kind of covering the possibility that they get dropped ahead of time. Let me tell you guys, they're not going to get dropped. The odds of that happening is just slim to none. Almost every national insurance company out there, and this goes to a question chatted in as well, most of them cover vacant properties without a rider. If they don't, they normally have a rider. But you do, as with a vacant property, you do need to check. You need to check. If they drop you, they drop you. There's others. I always go and encourage my clients to go through a local insurance broker agent that can shop policies. Always. Instead of saying, call Geico, I say, call James, or let me introduce you to James, because any good insurance agent that can shop a lot of different company policies, they're going to be able to find a solution very, very easily.
Thank you so much.
Yep. All right. Awesome. Sorry to hear your computer croaked, Matthew. You got to get a new one. This is a good excuse for a new one. Okay, guys, really appreciate you all. Thanks for dealing with my insanely long monologue earlier. I've been crazy long-winded today. I do my best to make it short. But here to help you guys. If you have not taken Probate Mastery, jump over to probatemastery.com and consider getting certified. Loads of training inside of that course. Chad's version is exceptional. I also have another version that we put up last year. I'm telling people take Chad's and take my 2.0 class, which is ongoing for the next several months. Those are the two that we're pushing. Once 2.0 is finished, Chad's and my old version are both going to come down, and it's only going to be 2.0. So I would encourage you guys to get in now. This recording is going to live forever, so it's going to come back to bite me. But I will tell you guys that once 2.0 is complete, price for probate mastery and certification is going to be higher. So I would get in before that time. So sometime over the next month or so, the prices are going to stay relatively low, and then they're going to go up because 2.0 is going to be really close to being done. All right. Thanks so much. And Lou just put a link out. If anyone wants a discovery call to talk through your options, Luis in chat just gave his discovery call link. He's with me, and you can kind of talk through your options, ask where to get started, things like that. Thanks,
I
everybody.
know, Bruce,
Yeah.
I know the call is over, but how long does the course take to complete?
Chad's is going to take 15 to 16 hours.
Mhm.
My 2.0 version is going to have about 30 plus hours of training in it. You
But you'll get,
will not have to take all 30 hours of that to get certified with Chad's. Let me say that. My version, by the time it's the certification version and the only one, there's going to be lessons that are relevant to investors and lessons that are relevant to realtors. So not every lesson is going to be mandatory, but there will be 30 plus hours in there. Um, uh, Nara.
and with either of them, you'll be certified with either of them.
Correct. Yep. And Nara just asked if we're taking the attorney class down too. No, the attorney class will always stay. Earn attorney referrals now as an add-on that you can get for half price if you bundle it with Mastery. It could and probably should be its own flagship curriculum and program. It's specifically for building relationships with attorneys. Exceptional class, and I'm not going to touch that. It's going to stay as a very popular course on the platform. All right.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you guys. Appreciate you.